Welcome to Stonewatch. This is my spoiler review for Transformers Rise of the Beasts. And if you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button and click on that bell so you can notify future videos. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And yes, after checking out Transformers Rise of the Beasts in the theaters opening weekend, I gotta say this movie was pretty damn good. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say that this is my most favorite Transformer movie ever, but it was pretty good nonetheless. I mean, I thought the action was pretty good. I thought, the human story was actually pretty decent for the most part, even though I didn't totally agree with what with Ramos's character, what he was going to do in this movie, to be quite honest. I mean, I understood a little bit what he was going to do, but at the same time, I'm going, I don't know, man. But then again, I don't know. And then I see a lot of people, all the articles on Screen Rant and everything, saying that this movie, like all the ways that this thing actually pulls away from the Bay Transformer movies. Now, I saw that a little bit too, but I also saw a couple parts or like story elements that was in this thing that kind of even tied into the Bay movies. Maybe it was just me. I mean, I could be just wrong, because according to Wikipedia, this thing is supposed to be a sequel to Bumblebee, but a prequel to the Transformer movie that came out in 2007. So it's like, I could kind of see that. I mean, because Bumblebee looks basically the same. I mean, Optimus looks different and everything, and he kind of acts different too in this movie compared to all the Bay movies, And I can't help myself but compare them to that, because it's there, right? I mean, I love Bumblebee. I even did a rewatch of Bumblebee before I even seen this movie, even finished it up right before I went to the theater to see this movie, because I wanted to see how well this tied into that movie. Now, I believe Optimus said that, they've been on Earth for 7 years. So it's been 7 years since the events of Bumblebee, if I understood that correctly. So that would put them in like an 87, seeing how this movie's supposed to be taking place in 1994. It was a pretty damn good year. Woodstock 94. I mean, that was an awesome concert. That's a topic for a whole nother video, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I did like this movie. I liked it a lot. I do have some questions about the story for this movie, because mainly I was never into Beast War cartoon comics or the toys. I mean, by the time those came out, I wasn't really into that stuff anymore. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I liked the Transformer shows from back in the 80s and everything, but by the time that the Beast Wars happened, I was like more worried about other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know these characters all that well. I mean, I'm only really familiar with like the Netflix series they had and stuff like that, and I kind of like that part of the series. I mean, I didn't really understand it because, again, I wasn't really familiar with the characters, so I didn't have that attachment to them. I didn't really have that attachment to them in this thing, and this movie really didn't make me want to. I mean, just for me, because I got no attachment to these characters, so I didn't really, other than I thought some of the scenes with them were kind of funny and cool. I wasn't like rooting for them and stuff like that. When Optimus Primal, whatever, the leader for the good guys and stuff, I didn't really, when he like showed up, and I didn't feel nothing for it. You know what I mean? It was cool, but I'm like, hey, I don't know who this dude really is. Transformers Rise of the Beast is a 2023 American science fiction action film based on the Hasbro Transformers toy line and primarily influenced by the Beast Wars storyline. The film is the 7th installment in the Transformers live-action film series, serving as both as a standalone sequel to Bumblebee from 2018 and a prequel to Transformers from 2007. The film was directed by Stephen Caple Jr. from the screenplay by Joby Harold, Darnell Metayer, Josh Peters, Erich, and John Hoeber. Following the critical and commercial success of Bumblebee, Paramount Pictures and Hasbro announced a sequel in early of 2019. In November 2020, Caple was hired as a director for the film. By 2021, Ramos and Fishback were cast in the lead human roles. Details for the film were revealed that summer in a virtual event held by Paramount. Michael Bay, who directed the first 5 live-action Transformer films and produced Bumblebee, once again serves as producer, along with Skydance Media, Hasbro, New Republic Pictures, and D. Bonaventura Pictures. Principal photography took place from June to October of 2021, with filming locations including Los Angeles, Peru, Montreal, and New York City. Transformers Rise of the Beast had its premiere at Marina Bay Sands in Singapore on May 27th of 2023 and was theatrically released in the United States on June 9th of 2023 by Paramount Pictures. The film has received mixed reviews from the critics, who praised its action sequences, improvements over its 4 pre-Bumblebee installments, though criticism was aimed at its climax. Starring in this movie, Anthony Ramos, Dominic Fishback, Ron Perlman, Peter Dinklage, Michelle Yeoh, Liza Koshy, Michaela Jai Rodriguez, Pete Davidson, Coleman Domingo, Cristo Fernandez, Tonga Ichirisa, Peter Cullen, John DiMaggio, and David Soboleff, just to name a few. Coming out of opening weekend, Transformers: The Rise of the Beast is sitting with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 53%, with 156 top critics reporting in. Now, just little over half of those critics actually like this movie. Now, I didn't read any of their reviews, so I don't really know what their problems were with the movie or what they liked about the movie, but out of 156, a little over half of them like this movie. So it is what it is at this point. Now, their general consensus is this. It says, thanks to the genuine human drama between the set pieces and the palpable affection for the title characters, Transformers: The Rise of the Beast is one of the franchise's more enjoyable outings. I have to agree with that. I did not like the Wahlberg Transformer movies. I mean, I kind of liked the first one, but I did not like the whole pixel blocky Transformer thing. I thought that was like the stupidest thing they could have done. It looked cheesy as all hell. I'm like, why would you do that? You like, up until this point, you've had these transformations with the CGI look so damn cool, and you do that? That was like, why would you do that? That was like the dumbest thing they could have done. But that's just me. I did not like that at all. And I did like Bumblebee. It was kind of like a soft reboot because like you get to see Bumblebee meets his first human. He's not there looking for Sam Witwicky, right? So he wasn't looking for the kid with the glasses at that point, because that's what they were looking for in the first Bay movie, right? So, and there wasn't really a mention of anything about the Allspark, right? Everything was all focused on Unicron. Now, I thought that was pretty damn cool when they had Unicron in this. I mean, he wasn't like in this movie a lot, and he never transformed into a robot. Maybe they'll have that later on down the road, because they did set this thing up a little bit for him to show up again, because he didn't get what he wanted this time around, but it doesn't mean he didn't die or nothing. So he's still out there, so he could still show up. And with that mid-credit scene that they had, kind of sets it up for something. I'm not really sure where that's going to go. Now, over on the audience side, it's sitting with a score of 91%, with 2,500 plus fans telling you what they think. Now, majority of the fans are loving this movie, and the box office is kind of reflecting that. Now, as of right now, it is sitting at number one at the box office. It only beat Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse by a little over $5 million. Now, it can happen. I don't think it will, but it can happen after the dust settles for this weekend and the estimates become like the actuals, which will be like sometime tomorrow afternoon, early Tuesday morning, when the numbers are finalized. They could switch. I mean, somehow or another, I'm not saying it will happen, but Spider-Verse could actually retake number one for the weekend, because there's only like a little over a $5 million difference between the two. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it would be funny if it did happen. But as of right now, it's number one at the box office, which I was pretty damn cool. Now, with a budget of $200 million, and its estimated domestic box office is $60.5 million. Its international estimated box office is $18.9 million, which brings a grand total of $79.4 million for its opening weekend, which is not all that good. It's not all that bad. I mean, it's a halfway decent, but next week we got The Flash, we got The Elemental, so I don't know how well this thing's actually going to perform in week two, right? And again, their budget was like $200 million. So you throw in their marketing budget, they got to make like almost $450 million just to break even on this movie. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how that goes in the week two. But again, maybe with word of mouth, like seeing how the fans are all loving this movie, maybe next week it may not have a bad drop off, right? I mean, we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. So for being movie number 2 in this Transformer reboot thing they got going on, trying to get away from the Bay movies, even though that Michael Bay is credited as one of the producers on this movie. How heavily involved he was, I have no idea. I mean, I thought there were some references to his movies in this movie. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I was just looking for something like that, because reading that he was one of the producers, I thought they kind of set that up, whatever, but maybe not. I doubt it, because I know that a lot of people don't like the Michael Bay movies, so they're trying to get away from that. But I kind of wonder where they're going with this, because there were some references to Bumblebee in this movie a little bit. I mean, they kind of mentioned Haley Steinfeld's character without actually saying her name, like, or Prime made the comment about that human was different, that you can't go by that, they're not all like her, blah 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 type deal. But at the very end, in the mid-credit scene for this movie with Ramos' character, he finally gets himself like another job, and it seems to be like a front for this secret government type thing. Now, at first I thought that was going to be a reference to Sector 7, right? But it wasn't. Turns out he was being recruited by G.I. Joe. And I when he flipped over the card and that's what the card said, I'm going, okay. Now, there was an article like last week or the week before saying that Hasbro was talking about doing a G.I. Joe / Transformer crossover thing like that. When I'm like, I didn't think nothing of it. And I actually forgot all about it until the card flipped over and that's what it said. I guess this will be like the first time they've ever done that. I don't know if they ever did that in the comic books or anything or something like that. So they had some kind of something to go along with it. Kind of how they think that these two franchises are actually going to meld together. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Snake Eyes was not that good of a movie. So you're trying to reboot it again because that's why they were going to do a whole big, huge reboot of all, like they were going to try to do the MCU thing. They were going to have a Snake Eyes movie and this character movie and this character movie, but that Snake Eyes wasn't all that good a movie. Check out my review and you can see why. However, I thought it was interesting. That's where they're going with this. They're going to actually, I don't know if like the next Transformer movie is going to be this crossover event, if like they're going to dive right into that, or they're going to have try to do a G.I. Joe movie before they do the crossover event to kind of set this thing up even more. I don't know, man. I don't know if that's going to work. I really don't. I mean, maybe. Now, I thought that Stephen Caple Jr. did a pretty damn good job with this movie, but I got to be honest, I have not seen him direct a single other thing, so I have nothing to compare it to. You know what I mean? And I kind of wonder how much he actually did talk to Travis Knight, you know, the one who directed Bumblebee. I mean, because there were a couple things that they brought in from Bumblebee into this movie, and like I said before, they only mentioned Haley Steinfeld's character once, and they didn't even say her name. They just kind of quickly referenced her in the dialogue, and that was it. You know what I mean? So I don't know really how much they actually talked, and if Hasbro is actually going to do a cinematic universe, I hope they have a plan. Learn from Lucasfilm's mistake and have a plan. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because the sequels, right? But that's a topic for a whole nother video. I mean, if they're going to have another Transformer movie, if they're going to do a G.I. Joe movie, or if they're going to do the Transformer movie / G.I. Joe movie next or later on down the road, have a plan. So we know the through line and what we're actually, where we're going, what we're actually doing. I mean, because again, I didn't, even though these movies were connected, they didn't totally feel connected. Maybe that's just me. Again, I know some people out there don't like the Bay movies. I like the first three. I thought they had at least somewhat of a plan all the way through. Whether or not if it changed up a little bit here or not, I thought we basically had the same characters. We had Sam and we had Megan Fox's character, at least for the first two movies. And Josh Duhamel was in all three movies. So there was like somewhat of like connected characters through all three movies. So it kind of, how well you think those movies were executed, that's a topic for a whole nother video. So if I were to rank the live action Transformer movies, I'm going to have to go with the first three Bay movies pretty much in succession, 1 through 3. Bumblebee taking number 4. This one right here, Rise of the Beast, will take the number 5 spot, and we have the Wahlberg movies coming in at 6 and 7 to round out the rankings. I mean, The Last Night was pretty bad. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like that movie at all. That was a waste of the Dinobots. But again, it's another topic for a whole nother video. I wonder if I'm actually going to get to see them again. You know, get a good introduction to the Dinobots later on down the road. And we already got the Maximals and stuff like that, so why not? We got a gorilla and everything else. Why can't we have dinosaurs too, right? I mean, because they put them on Earth like millions of years beforehand. I guess so. I lost the track in like the timeline that they were actually using. But it did put them on Earth like earlier on in the timeline compared to the Bay movies. I could be wrong. Let me know about that in the comments down below. I mean, I did like this movie. I would like to see it again. Whether or not if I actually get to see it in the theaters again or not, I don't know, because like next week we got The Flash and Elementals, and after that we've got Asteroid City, which is not the same genre whatsoever, but I'm probably going to go and see that movie that weekend. So, and then after that we got Indy 5. We got a lot of good movies coming out, right? I mean, this has been a really good year for movies, and that's why I'm glad I saw this movie. Now I have to say that there was probably, myself included, I think there was like a family behind me, and there might have been 3, maybe 4 people. It was already dark in the theater, so I didn't get to exactly see it. There was at least 3 people, a couple and a kid. There might have been more, 2 kids. I'm not really sure, but other than that was the only ones that were in the theater at the time I went to go see this movie this weekend, which was like pretty early because I go early in the morning. But however, this movie is pretty good, and I cannot wait to see it again, right? So did you get a chance to go check Transformers Rise of the Beast in the theater this weekend? Let me know in the comments down below. Did you like this movie? Let me know in the comments down below. And where do you rank this movie with the other live action Transformer movies? Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, this movie was pretty good. It was definitely worth the price I paid for it, right? So let me know what you think in the comments down below.